Joining me now to discuss is Hal Kempfer, a retired U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer and now president of the strategic risk management firm KIP, and Jessie Jane Duff, retired U.S. Marine Corps gunnery sergeant and our senior fellow with the London Center for Policy Research. Jessie, let's start with you. What is Iran's agenda with this announcement that it's pulling back from parts of the deal?
Well, essentially, Iran never was going to comply with the deal, and this is giving them a way out and leveraging themselves in a position where they're putting the European allies that we have that are still doing business with Iran in a compromising position. They're basically saying you either love us or you love the U.S. I think they're rolling the dice. This is really Russian roulette for them because what will happen is that our European allies will be forced to stop doing trade with Iran. And we already know that Iran was aggressively breaking the deal as it was. We already know that they were pursuing nuclear technology as it was. So the only way we can do this is by sending that carrier group, sending that bomber group, because of the threats Iran is already making, and start enforcing these sanctions at a level where the European market itself suffocates Iran's regime. Every bit of money, they should be ashamed of themselves, because every bit of money that they're pumping into Iran in their trade that they're profiting off of is going right back into the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, not the people of Iran. It is the wealthy Iranian Revolutionary Guard and all of the proxies throughout the world that profit off of our very own European allies and China and Russia and Turkey.
Hal, how do you see the Europeans responding to this?
Well, the Europeans are going to probably try for the next couple of months to put as much pressure as they can to stop Iran from dropping basically the accords, if you will. They don't want to see them start to ramp up their enrichment of uranium. You know, the 3.67% really kept it down to a level where it would take them a long time to ramp up. I think the Iranians are set up to where they want to boost up to 20%. Of course, beyond that, they could boost up higher, which you're getting into around 90%. You're into weapons-grade uranium. That's what they're threatening. Now, right now, it's rhetoric, and rhetoric is cheap. They don't have to invest anything. The other thing is that the Europeans are not going to cross us on the sanctions. These sanctions have a lot of penalties for doing so, and frankly, for any European business, unless, of course, they're into illegal smuggling or something like that, they're just simply not going to do that. Eastern European, Russia, they might do some things. That's possible. Not the countries, but some organizations there. But mainstream European companies will not cross the sanctions. It's just, it's too difficult.
Jessie, with regards to Russia, they have said that they do stand behind Iran, that they do support Iran, and they've blamed the U.S. For this deal falling apart. Important to note, as we stressed earlier, that the U.S. is sending an aircraft carrier to the Persian Gulf in response to some potential threats from Iran against U.S. assets. Mike Pompeo was just in Iraq. Jessie, is a military confrontation between the U.S. and Iran a distinct possibility at this point?
I don't know that it would be with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, so to speak, but I think that we will have a swift response to any attacks that they make against our troops or our allies. I think it is, of course, a possibility. But if we don't send that carrier, and if we weren't to send those bombers, I think Iran would continue to press buttons and potentially do some forms of terrorist attacks throughout the world, and then try to remain very covert about it. We're calling them out. And I think, in fact, we have to have a have a strong demonstration of force outside their doors, because if they think for 2 seconds that we're going to tolerate them attacking our allies, attacking our troops, doing anything that is mischievous, that causes a loss of life or American interest, then we are not. They're messing with the wrong president. I think they're really going down the wrong path, because how many decades has this been gone on? How many decades?
Hal, we have about 40 seconds left in the segment. What are your final thoughts on this?
Well, Michelle, my final thoughts are we need to proceed cautiously. We kind of made a calculation in 1980 when Iraq went into Iran that Iranian resistance and the government would collapse. That turned out to be completely wrong. The Iranian people rallied behind their troops. There was a surge of patriotism, and that war lasted a long time. So we have to be very careful how we calculate any confrontation with Iran. And even though we have overwhelming military power, we still have to be very cautious.
All right. Thank you so much, as always, Hal Kempfer and Jessie Jane Duff. Appreciate it.